we still have a moderate chance of tropical development in the eastern Atlantic today. It is currently Saturday, October 4th, 2025. I'm meteorologist Robert Spett. I always do my best to break down the tropics out here for you with no hype, just being transparent about what we're seeing. And at least at this time, we got a couple areas that are one in the Gulf, one over the Bahamas that have been monitored by the National Hurricane Center. They have been given a 0% chance of development at this time. And we have another area, 0% in the next 48 hours, but the extended outlook looks more and more like we could have our next named storm, which would be called Jerry. Now, first, let's talk about the ones closer to home here off of the East Coast. And you can see that convection kind of out here in the Gulf, just towards the South of Louisiana, and this other area located just towards the east of the Bahamas. Now, both of these have a lot of shear interacting with them. And what that simply means is that they're not getting organized to develop into a tropical system, but they are still a broad area of low pressure, basically extending from the west coast of Florida off towards the east, and that's interacting with a high pressure ridge towards the north. So despite not having a tropical system, we're still looking at what you would call tropical storm strength wind gusts at the very least up and down the east coast of Florida. We've been seeing continuous winds about 30, gusting up to 40 miles per hour. Not a storm surge, but tidal flooding, especially along the intracoastal. The St. Johns River in Jacksonville, for example, backed up, and there is coastal flood warnings in place at this time due to this consistent onshore flow. So it's not a tropical system, but you do have impacts coming from these nonetheless. So that's something I just want you to keep in mind. But with that said, due to this onshore flow, you have the jet stream just towards north. We have a lot of shear really interacting with these two areas and causing them to stay relatively weak and thus not developing into much of anything. So that's the big topic closer to the east coast of the United States. There are several areas there. Don't believe everything you see on social media. Even with this video, make sure you kind of take it, you inform yourself. I am a qualified meteorologist, of course, but I have seen some of those posts out there that were just basically saying the NHC's warning on an area with no added context, and it was getting shared around, a lot of misinformation. Anyways, back towards the east, we have the other area. Now, the ensembles really continuing to indicate this one trying to develop up just towards the north of Puerto Rico. The ECMWF and the GFS have both kind of been holding towards this. Now, the further south it does develop, the more of a possibility it could even move into the Caribbean and eventually over towards the Gulf. But the bulk of the guidance is showing a turn towards the north. Now, what I'm showing you right here is just some nice operational models. But what I want to do is flip over to the Google DeepMind. Now, this is one of the newer AI models, and I like this because it's going to show you kind of the general ensemble here. So basically, all the different models that are averaged together gives you a good idea. Now, here with the AI model, watch this as it moves off towards the west. Basically, this is our current area we're watching, and you see how the Google DeepMind does kind of pull this and develops it. Even some of these areas in purple are showing an area that would be dubbed Jerry. But you watch the general consensus with this ensemble. It gets hooked by a trough, kicks off towards the north, and eventually pulled towards the north and east. Now we can overlay the ECMWF ensemble here as well. And let's scroll that ahead as you watch that move from west or from east to west. And you can kind of see throughout that extended outlook, yeah, it's a lot of it's pulling towards north, but it's still to that point where I think that we could have a named storm system at the very least just northeast of Puerto Rico. That would still, at this point right here, be 6 to 7 days away from recording this. So by next Friday, I'm recording this on Saturday. So there's still a lot of uncertainty, I guess is my point. But the general consensus shows a turn towards the north with the long-range ensembles, models, and the general layout with that Bermuda high shifting a little bit towards the east, and you get that trough with the jet stream dipping down and picking it up. So, yeah, at this point, I wouldn't worry, but hey, we're still in hurricane season. It goes until the end of November. You remember 3 years ago, we had Nicole in late November that impacted the east coast of Florida. Actually made landfall right near Daytona as a Cat 1. So, yeah, there's still the impacts to be had, at least at this time of year, though. We start to change our focus away from these west coast of Africa type tropical waves out towards the Caribbean. And that's what I mean. If this tracked south of Hispaniola, then it would get into an area. In fact, it was 1 year ago today, we were monitoring a storm system that was getting its first kind of initial act together just around the Yucatan Peninsula. If you know what that is, take a second, think about it. It would be Milton was just starting to form out there. So, yeah, it's that time of year. But regardless, tropical development, we still got gusty conditions due to this nor'easter. So it's something we're going to continue to monitor. I'm meteorologist Robert Spetta. As always, thanks for stopping by. And if you want more information, check out Hurricane Central at firstcoastnews.com.